Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing another week life kind of vlog, sort of. What I thought is I wanted to record and keep track of how many hours I'm actually able to read during a typical work week. So I think this is going to be really beneficial for those of you who are like me, work 40 hours a week, you have responsibilities, you have kids, you have things going on to where you're just not, sitting at home all day reading. That's not my life. I am not a 18-year-old living at home, being able to just sit at home and read whenever I feel like it. That's just not my life. I am 44 years old. I have a full-time job. I have a lot of stuff going on. So I thought it would be interesting to see how many hours I'm able to read from Monday to Friday. So I work 40 hours a week. My shift or my hours are a little different than a typical 9 to 5. I work a very flexible schedule. And so Monday I work 10 hours. Tuesday I work 9 hours. Wednesday I work 10 hours. Thursday I work 8 hours on site. All the rest of my time, I'm at my home office. And then on Friday, I only work 3 hours. And it could fluctuate because I do have a very flexible schedule. So some of those hours are not set. I might only, on a typical 10-hour day, I might actually only work 8 hours, but I would make up those 2 hours on Friday or some other day. So it fluctuates, but that's typically my time. So I work anywhere between 8 to 10 hours Monday through Thursday. And then Friday, I have a completely free day just about, and I only work from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. But I also have 2 kids. So I have their appointments, gymnastics, doctor's appointments that are set every single day just about. So I do have things that I have to do outside of my work hours. I will also caveat that while my Friday, I only work until 9 a.m. There's very rarely a time that I'm reading the full day. So the majority of the time on Fridays, after I get off of work, that's when I have to run errands with my husband because he's at home, he's retired. So we run to Costco, we do grocery shopping. He's going to school as well, so I'll try to help him out with any assignments that he has problems with. So I just don't sit at home after 9 a.m. on Fridays. I wish I could, but it never happens. And I also have to on Friday pick up my girls from school, and then I have to take them to their appointments after school. So there's just things that happen. So while I only work 3 hours on Friday, it's not to say that I'm going to get, 10 hours of reading in on that day. It's just, that's not going to happen. So, but that's what the plan is for this video. I want to see how many hours I can read given a 40-hour work schedule. I am going to also caveat that I'm not going to do anything special to make myself read more. I'm going to stick to my typical reading schedules like I do all the time. I've just never really tracked how much reading it actually is. So what I'm going to be doing is every single time I pick up a book, or I'm also going to count audiobooks because, that's an option for you to read. But the plan is every single time I pick up my book or audiobook to read, I'm going to have my timer that I'm going to start and stop. The books that I am going to be reading right now is I just started The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros, and I'm only on page 56, so I've only read this much. So I basically have the full book here that I'm going to be trying to read this week. And then I don't know what I'm going to pick up next. I really feel like mood reading. I have a huge TBR that I set for myself this month. So I have a lot of books to choose from, and I'm really excited to dive into some of those other books as soon as this book is done. So hopefully at the end of the week, I will have this book read and then potentially either be in the middle of a second book, or I would love to say that I finished that book, but it just kind of depends on what's going on. So that's what we're going to do. I am currently on a break at work right now, and so I'm probably going to try to read at lunch, and then I have my afternoon reading. So if you're interested to see how many pages you could potentially read, even if you have a full-time job and you have kids, you have responsibilities, and you have, you know, things that you have set that you have to accomplish because you're an adult, this video might be for you. It might help you kind of see what the opportunities are, and might be able to help you read a little bit more in your daily life. We are going to go ahead and continue with work. I have some emails that have come in the last 6 minutes that I have been recording, and we're going to take care of those and then do some reading at lunchtime. All right, it is Tuesday morning. It is 9:30, and I wanted to do a quick check-in on how many hours I was able to read yesterday. So I ended up working for 9 hours. I did have 1 hour of fitness time, so I did work out, and then that was pretty much the end of my work day. I was planning on reading during lunch yesterday, but I was just so busy. I had so many phone calls at work, and then I also had a project come in that was really quick, I thought, to get done, but it ended up dragging out for the entire day because there was multiple like updates and iterations that was sent to me that I had to go back and correct later. So I wasn't able to read during lunch. But I did end up reading yesterday. So let me pull my little timer up, and I was able to read 2 hours and 23 minutes with me working full time. I did not have any appointments. I pretty much started reading at 9 o'clock, and then I read up until about 11:30 and then went to bed. So that is what I read for Monday. I did also end up, just for your awareness and like status, so when I first started this yesterday, I was on chapter 6, and I don't remember what page that was, like 50 something, 56. So I was on chapter 56. So with my 2 hours of reading, or 2.5 hours of reading, I was able to go from chapter 6, page 56, to chapter 13, page 166. So I basically read about 110 pages in 2.5 hours, which is pretty good. I also have been reading this on my Kindle, so I kind of flip-flop between reading on my book and then reading on the Kindle, because this book is on Kindle Unlimited. So that was Monday. So starting Tuesday, I am beginning on page 166, chapter 13, in The Last Letter. Today I am working 9 hours again. I do not have a workout, but I do have a appointment that I need to take my youngest to this afternoon. It's like a 30-minute appointment, and I basically just sit in the lobby while she's at her appointment and do my reading. So I will have 30 minutes of reading at that appointment. I'm hoping I will have my lunch that I'll be able to do some reading as well. And then I'll also have this afternoon, I'll be reading at 9 o'clock and doing my normal afternoon reading. So my hope is I'll have at least 3 hours of reading, if not more, for today. That's gonna be my goal, is 3 hours. I definitely think I can do it, considering I did 2.5 hours last night, and I have a 30-minute appointment, so that should take me right at 3 hours, and then whatever time I'm able to do reading at lunch. So that is the beginning of my Tuesday, and I will do another check-in tomorrow to find out exactly how many pages I read, given my full day of work and appointments and normal like adult things that I have to do today. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to get back to work and finish out this workday. All right, it is Wednesday. It is 9:30, my actual, like my typical break time. And we're going to talk about how much I read on Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, I was reading The Last Letter. I said I was on page 166, I believe. Let me double check and make sure. Yes, I was on 166 yesterday morning when I did the check-in before. And last night I read the rest of it. So I finished this book yesterday. I ended up staying up until about 12:30. So I had a lot of reading that I did yesterday. This was one of those books that you wanted to keep reading, you wanted to find out what was going to happen, and just it was just so ingrained in the story that you just couldn't put it down. And so that's what happened. And so I ended up staying up until about 12:30 finishing this book. So yesterday at my check-in, I read on the previous day. I was at 2 hours and 23 minutes. So taking into account all of the reading that I did on Tuesday, the amount of hours I have read on Monday and Tuesday were 8 hours and 1 minute. That is not typical. And I know I said at the beginning of this video that I wasn't going to do anything that was going to make me read more than I typically would. And that still holds true. There are definitely instances that I have read books and I just did not want to put them down. I read through, past midnight. Sometimes I've read up until like 2 a.m. knowing I have to be at work at 6 a.m. I've had those times where I just couldn't put a book down, and I've read way later than I typically do. So it's not out of norm. This is not out of character. This is just what happens with my reading. So I am now going into Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. I am at just over 8 hours. Today is, like I said, Wednesday for like the 5th time. I work 9 hours. I do have, my youngest has a gymnastics class, which is also an hour. So that is what the plans are for today. So I went through my books that I have and I picked out 2. So I have, after reading The Last Letter, the next book that I'm going to pick up, I wanted something very light, very easy, very, cute, not emotional. And that book that I've decided is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I have never read a Sarah Adams book before. I think it's going to be a cute little read. So this is what I'm going to be reading today for Wednesday. So I'm hoping I'm going to read When in Rome starting at lunchtime, and then gymnastics, and then this afternoon. So those are kind of my dedicated reading times for Wednesday. Hoping to get out. I would love to be able to say that I could read half of this book. Because it is really small. So if I can get 150 pages read today, that would be amazing. That's a wrap up for Wednesday. And let's get Wednesday finished, because I'm really excited to see what this book is all about. All right, we are back for a check-in. It is a Thursday morning. It is 7:45. I'm in my car for the next 10 minutes or so, killing time before I have to go into the office for my 8-hour workday on site. And I wanted to do a quick check-in to tell you how many hours I read on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I ended up reading for another hour and 20-ish minutes. I'm now at 9 hours and 23 minutes. I'm recording on my phone, so I can't show you, but I'll put it on the screen. So I read for about an hour and a half. Yesterday I did have my daughter's gymnastics class, which is an hour. And then I normally do my reading after 9 p.m. until like 11 something. And I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't focus on reading. So, I did read an hour and a half, which is still really good, but it wasn't as much as I originally thought I was going to be reading. I honestly thought that I would have the When in Rome book halfway done, but I am only on page 66, but it's like a 300-page book, so it's technically like almost 25% done. But today I am working on site. I typically try to read during my lunch, but today I am literally in back-to-back meetings starting at lunchtime. So between 11 until I think 2, I'm in meetings. I'm hoping to get reading done today at work. Not really anticipating it, honestly. So that's it. I will see everybody on my Friday check-in. Hey guys, so today is Friday, and this will be the last full day of me reading to see how many hours I'm able to read during a full-time work week. So I do want to really quickly talk about the amount of reading I got done yesterday. And I believe at yesterday's check-in, I was at 9 hours and 20 something minutes. And so I did read last night. I read from like about 9 p.m. or so until I think 11:30 or so. And I read now for just over 12 hours. So I have 12 hours and 2 minutes. So that is what we're going to start with on Friday. And then book-wise, I am still reading When in Rome. I am now on page 189, so I have this much left. I think Goodreads says I'm like 61 or 62% done with this book, and it's going fairly well. It's a very simple little romance. I do plan on finishing this book today. Like I said, it's only like 300 pages, like 308 pages or so. I'm at 188 now, or 189, so I'll be able to finish this. And then the next book that I am going to be picking up once I get done with When in Rome is going to be Belladonna, which I also have on Kindle Unlimited. So this is what I will be reading tonight once I get When in Rome done. Now, it is almost 10 o'clock. I'm officially done with work. I do need to go run some errands to kind of pick up some stuff while I don't have kids attached to my hip. But we're going to run some errands, have some lunch, and then at 2 o'clock I need to leave to pick up my kids at school and then bring them home. And then we have a appointment this afternoon, and then we're going to come back home. And so while I still technically could read all day, I really can't. So we're going to see how much reading I can get done. I'm just over 12 hours in the 4 days that I have been tracking my reading. I'll do one more check-in tomorrow morning to kind of give you the final wrap-up of how many hours I read during this work week, and we will see what that number is, because I'm really excited. I'm really interested to see how many hours I actually read on a typical 40-hour work schedule. So we're gonna go run some errands really quick and then come home, do some reading in between all of the things that I have planned for today. All right, we're ready for our last check-in to find out how many hours I read during a work week. So last time I did a check-in, it was Friday morning, and I honestly can't remember what the hours were at my Friday morning check-in, but Friday day, I, again, had a short day. I got off at 9 o'clock, but after 9 o'clock, I had to run some errands while my kids were at school. I did a workout. I then had to go have some lunch. Then I picked up my girls, and then I came home from school after picking them up, and then I had to take them to an appointment, and then came back home, had dinner, nighttime routine. So I did read kind of periodically throughout the day in those like gaps between like coming back from my errands and then working out. Like when I was taking my pre-workout, I was doing a little bit of reading. And then while I was waiting for my kids at school, I was in the parking lot doing a little bit of reading. And then, you know, between coming back from appointments and then dinner time, had a little bit of reading. So I had like sporadic little chunks of reading. And then I did do some more reading at like 8 p.m. after I got my youngest like in her bath routine and all that kind of stuff. So I did do some reading. I honestly, I think I did a substantial amount of reading. I cannot remember how much reading I did on Friday, but my total hours from Monday at like 6 a.m. when I started my workday to Friday night, which I think I ended up going to bed Friday at like 10:30 or 11. I actually went to bed kind of early. I read a total of 14 hours and 31 minutes. I think that's actually a little bit higher than what I would have normally read if it was not for one of my books. So during this 5 days, I read 3 books. So the first book that I read at the beginning of this reading week was The Last Letter. This is the one that I ended up spending a lot of time, and I kind of read more than I normally probably would have because I wanted to find out how this book ended. So this contributed to probably an extra 2 hours of reading that I normally wouldn't have had in my like time frame. So read The Last Letter. This was a big chunk of my hours was spent reading this. And then I also I started and finished When in Rome, itty bitty little book. So this one took me about a day and a half to read. It was only 300 pages. So it was a really quick read, really simple to get through, and didn't have a lot of brain power to like take extra time reading the book. So we did start and finish this. And then Friday, when I finished, because I finished this on Friday, after I finished this, I picked up Belladonna, and I am only like 8% through this book. So I think I'm in the middle of a chapter. I'm reading this on my Kindle, but I think I'm only on, I'm on chapter 3. So I have only read like this percent or that amount. So this is, I just started this and I have not gotten very far in it. So, but that is what I read and how long I read during my 40-hour-a-week work week. So I will say, if you are like me and you work 40 hours a week and you just don't know how to like set aside time to read, what I have been doing for the last couple of years is I have set a time, or I have found a time during my day where it's basically me time. So like my husband's in bed, both of my girls are in bed, the house is quiet, nothing is needed of me, and that's when I do the bulk of my reading. So, which normally equates to 9 p.m. Like 9 p.m. and after, all me time. So I can do 9 p.m. and I usually go to sleep between 11 and 12. That's what I am comfortable with. So I can basically read anywhere between 2 to 3 hours at a minimum every day. And then during my work week, kind of depending on how work's going, if I'm working on site versus if I'm working at my house, I'm also trying to read during lunch, during breaks. If I have audiobooks, I usually try to listen to those going to and from work whenever I have to go to work on site. So that's kind of how I'm able to do the amount of reading that I do. And I feel like the amount of reading I do is pretty simple to attain, and I think I've gotten a good routine. I've figured out what makes the most sense for me with my life and like what I have going on, and I've pretty much kind of condensed it and tailored it to what is manageable. And I think 14 hours for a 5-day workday is a pretty good number. I'm pretty happy with it. So that is today's video. I hope this was very helpful for those people who are trying to increase their reading or just don't know, for a busy person, what is kind of attainable. 14 hours is the amount of time that I was able to sit and read my books for this week, which was part of, these were the 3 books that I started, finished, and are currently reading within this week. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this was helpful for anybody, and I will see everybody in my next video. Bye!